You've probably heard it before. Enlightenment is about letting go of all desire. It sounds tidy, clean, like the ultimate spiritual mic drop. No desire equals no suffering, right? But Alan Watts, the eloquent disruptor of shallow spiritual cliches, wasn't having it. Because the real danger isn't wanting too much. It's wanting nothing anymore. That soft, subtle, seductive deadness that creeps in when you think you're being spiritual by numbing out. When you start mistaking absence of desire for peace and silence for wisdom.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
It's not the messy bug in the human system that we're supposed to debug in pursuit of transcendence. It's the code, the architecture, the electricity running through the whole machine. Desire is what moves life. And when you try to rip it out in the name of peace, what you're left with isn't enlightenment. It's a flatline. But let's rewind. We all get taught, one way or another, that wanting is risky business, that it leads to disappointment, heartbreak, frustration, suffering. And hey, sometimes it does. There's no denying that desperate, hungry kind of desire can eat you alive from the inside out. But Watts was drawing a very important line in the sand here. There's desire. And then there's neurotic craving. One connects you to life. The other disconnects you from yourself. And what most people try to do when they feel the pain of that craving isn't to understand it, it's to kill desire altogether. To go cold turkey on caring. They take a bad relationship with desire and try to fix it with a full shutdown. But when you cut off all desire, what you're really doing is amputating your humanity and calling it wisdom. You stop reaching, stop connecting, stop creating, stop feeling, and suddenly, you're not free. You're just numb. That's what Watts meant when he called it spiritual anesthesia. It's not peace. It's an emotional coma dressed up in white robes. And that, my friend, is the trap. Because true inner peace isn't about escaping desire. It's about understanding it. Becoming so clear in your relationship to desire that you can feel it fully without being controlled by it. You can want deeply, wildly, passionately, and still stay rooted in your own freedom. That's the kind of paradox Watts lived for. Want everything. Cling to nothing. Sounds poetic, sure. But what does it mean? Let's break it down. To want everything doesn't mean becoming insatiable. It means staying awake. It means saying yes to life. Yes to beauty. Yes to joy. Yes to loss. Yes to meaning. It means letting your soul feel lit up by art, by love, by connection, by purpose, even when you know none of it lasts forever. To cling to nothing? That's the counterbalance. The grounding. It means not mistaking any of those desires for your identity. Not staking your worth on whether or not you get what you want. So you can go after your dreams with fire, and if they collapse, you're still whole. You can love someone with your entire chest, and if they walk away, you're still you. You can pour your soul into your work, and if it fails, you don't fall apart with it. That's the real game. That's the balance. Desire without desperation. Passion without prison. Longing without losing yourself. Watts understood that the people who want nothing aren't enlightened. They're hollow. And often, they're hiding behind that nothingness because they've been hurt, or because they're afraid of being hurt. They don't want to feel the ache of longing, the sting of loss, the burn of disappointment. So they pretend they've transcended all of it. But really, they've just built a very quiet kind of cage. The irony? It's the people who do feel, who do want, who do open their hearts to life. They're the ones walking the real spiritual path. Because that path isn't paved in detachment. It's paved in vulnerability. You want to live an enlightened life. Great. Then don't run from desire. Learn to ride it. Watts compared desire to a rudder, the thing that steers you through the chaos of the world. Without it, you drift. You disconnect. You get spiritually seasick and pretend that not moving is the same thing as peace. But if you know how to read your desires, if you know which ones come from your wounds and which ones come from your soul, that's when everything changes. Because not all desire is the same. There's the kind that comes from a void. The I'm not enough, so I need this kind. And then there's the kind that comes from overflow. The I'm so full, I have to share this kind. The first enslaves you. The second sets you free. And that's where spiritual maturity really begins, when you start asking, where is this desire coming from? Is it an echo of fear? Or a spark of life? Am I reaching for this because I'm empty or because I'm full? Because when your desire comes from wholeness, it doesn't own you. You can engage with life fiercely, openly, even joyfully, and still stay free. That's the key Watts was handing us. He wasn't saying follow every whim. He wasn't promoting indulgence or attachment. He was saying, don't throw out the engine just because you forgot how to steer. Desire is what gets you out of bed in the morning.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
And here's the hardest truth of all. Wanting nothing doesn't make you spiritually strong. Sometimes, it just means you've stopped believing anything's possible. And that's not enlightenment. That's exhaustion. Watts challenged us to come back to life, to stop hiding behind faux detachment, to stop pretending the absence of desire is peace, when really, it's just the absence of courage. Because yes, to want something is to risk. You risk being disappointed. You risk being heartbroken. You risk having to start over. But what's the alternative? To sit in a corner of your life, untouched and untouched by anyone. To float through your days like a ghost of who you could have been. That's not safety. That's spiritual sedation. Watts invites you to something richer. A life of desire. A life of engagement. A life where you burn brightly, not recklessly, but intentionally. Where you say yes to what moves you. Where you pursue what matters without gripping it to death. Where you want things, really want them, but know your soul doesn't rise or fall based on how it all plays out. And that's true freedom. Not the kind you buy with silence and suppression. The kind you earn by showing up messy, vulnerable, awake. So no, the danger isn't in wanting too much. It's in wanting nothing anymore. In convincing yourself you're above it all when really, you've just stopped participating. Because the moment you stop wanting anything, you stop growing. You stop reaching. You stop living. And you were never meant to live half asleep. You were meant to want, to feel, to try, to fail, to want again, and to know in the deepest part of your being that your aliveness is not a mistake. It's the whole point. So stop fearing your desire. Start understanding it. Because in the end, desire isn't the obstacle to enlightenment. It's the door. And that door, it's not tucked away in a silent monastery on a mountaintop. It's right here, in your chest, in your breath. In that raw, aching thing you feel when you think about what you really want, not the things you say in polite conversation, but the secret stuff, the thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that would break your heart wide open if you let it. That's the flame Watts was pointing to. And yet, somewhere along the way, someone told you that flame was dangerous. That to be spiritual meant snuffing it out. That if you really wanted to be free, you had to become indifferent, untouched, unbothered, unmoved. But Watts saw right through that. He called it spiritual sterilization. A kind of clean, hollow existence dressed up in wise-sounding language but totally disconnected from the grit and heat of being alive. Because what is life without desire? Can you name a single thing, a single meaningful, transformative, soul-shaping thing that didn't begin with desire? A kiss, a painting, a revolution, a child, a song that saves someone's life at just the right moment. None of those things come from cold, indifferent stillness. They come from longing, from motion, from the sacred spark that says, I want. And let's be honest, it takes guts to want. It takes courage to say, this matters to me. To admit, even quietly, that your soul still burns for something. Because once you name your desire, you're exposed, vulnerable. People can scoff. Life can disappoint. Things can go sideways. But you know what else can happen? You wake up. You come back to yourself. You re-enter the conversation you were always meant to be part of. The one between you and this strange, terrifying, beautiful world. That's what Watts meant when he talked about desiring fully, without clinging. He wasn't telling you to become a monk immune to joy. He was telling you, want without begging. Desire with your eyes open. So when the love fades, you don't collapse. When the job ends, you don't lose yourself. When the dream shifts, you don't shrivel. Because you're not worshipping the object of your desire, you're honoring the aliveness that made you reach for it in the first place. And let's not confuse this with wishful thinking or the kind of self-help fluff that says manifest your reality and glosses over how complicated, gritty, and contradictory human wanting can be. Desire isn't tidy. It's not a neat little to-do list. It's messy, emotional, often irrational, sometimes painful, but that doesn't make it wrong. It makes it real. Watts knew that any attempt to purify the human experience by removing desire was like trying to paint a masterpiece with no colors. You might end up with a clean canvas, sure, but it'll be lifeless. Desire gives your story dimension. It gives your heart something to lean into, to rise and fall with. It gives you a reason to get up, to try, to risk. Because even when desire hurts, when it doesn't deliver, when it leaves you wrecked, it's still a sign that you're engaged. It means you care. It means you're still playing the game. And that's everything. Because the alternative is spiritual nihilism. It's that hollow place where you've convinced yourself that nothing matters, where you stop trusting yourself to want, where you stop seeing the point of anything. You float, you disengage, you call it peace, but deep down, it's numbness. And maybe that's why so many people on the so-called spiritual path start to lose their sparkle. They think they're becoming enlightened, but really, they're just becoming safe. And safe doesn't heal you. It just hides you. Real growth, real transformation. It asks you to feel, to be cracked open, to be exposed, to keep your heart soft in a world that hardens fast, to keep showing up even when it hurts, to want, and to want without shame. Watts never suggested that we become slaves to our every impulse. He never said to follow every whim or chase every craving. That's not freedom either, that's compulsion, addiction, a different kind of trap. What he offered was something more refined, more sacred, the art of conscious desire. Desire that's held with awareness, that knows how to say yes without saying forever, that knows how to reach without collapsing if it can't hold on. Imagine loving someone like that, creating like that, living like that, where you pour yourself in, not to possess, but to participate, where you can want everything and still feel at peace having nothing, where you can laugh, cry, fail, and still say, all of this is mine to feel. That's not detachment, that's mastery, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's easier to shut down, to detach in a cold way, to hide behind philosophies that sound smart but shield you from being alive. But easy doesn't lead to truth, it just leads to apathy. So if you've been tricked into thinking that your desire is a flaw to fix, Watts is here, still echoing through time, to remind you that it's not a flaw. It's your compass, your teacher, your engine, your invitation. It's not asking you to cling, it's asking you to listen, to trust yourself again, to know that wanting something doesn't make you needy, it makes you human, that it's possible, deeply possible, to want with your whole soul and still be at peace whether it comes to you or not. That the goal was never to be untouched, it was to be unbroken, to be someone who could feel every ounce of life and not turn away. So maybe that's your challenge right now. Not to want less, but to want honestly, not to detach from your passion, but to relate to it differently, to sit with your longing even when it burns and say, this, too, is sacred. Because it is. Watts didn't want you to transcend life. He wanted you to fall into it, fully, fiercely, freely, to make peace not by erasing your wants, but by refining your relationship to them, so that you could keep your heart wide open in a world that teaches you to shut it, so that you could chase what matters without making it your prison, so that you could walk through life, bright, vulnerable, imperfect, and say, yes, I want, and mean it, not from desperation, not from fear, but from fullness, from life recognizing itself in your bones, because the danger of wanting nothing anymore isn't that you suffer less, it's that you live less. And life, this wild, spinning, sacred mess, was never meant to be observed from a distance. It was meant to be felt. So feel it, want it, move with it, and let that be your freedom. When you stop wanting, you stop living, not in a dramatic, movie-ending sort of way, but in a slow, barely noticeable, quietly devastating way. You stop reaching, you stop dreaming, you stop saying yes to things that once made your heart beat harder. And that's when life doesn't hurt less, it just feels less. And what's the point of that? We weren't born to be untouchable. We weren't dropped into this wild, chaotic, unpredictable world to become floating clouds of detached awareness. We came here to get messy, to feel the sting and the sweetness, to run after what calls us, knowing full well we might trip. You want to know what real spiritual maturity looks like. It's not being above it all. It's standing in it all, barefoot, heart out, fully engaged, and still being able to breathe. Still being able to say, yes, I want this. And if it doesn't come, I'll be okay, but damn, I'm still going to want it. Watts didn't want you to stop wanting. He wanted you to stop clinging. There's a difference, and it's everything. Clinging says, if I don't get this, I'm nothing. Desire says, this lights me up, and I'm here for the ride. One makes you a prisoner. The other makes you a participant. And look, no one's saying it's easy. Especially if you've been taught that your value comes from how zen you appear. Especially if your spiritual journey has been paved with messages about detachment, neutrality, and being above desire. But let's be honest, neutrality sounds cool until you try living in it. Then you realize it's just a fancy word for numbness. We're not meant to float above our own experience like passive observers. We're meant to move through it. You can't love halfway. You can't create halfway. You can't grow halfway. Those things require wanting. They require investment. They require you to care. And if you've started to believe that caring is weakness, that desire is childish, that longing is some kind of moral failure, Watts would lovingly, and probably with a grin, say, you've missed the plot. Because desire isn't childish. It's primal. It's sacred. It's fuel. It's what keeps artists painting, lovers chasing each other across cities, thinkers reshaping the world. It's what builds bridges, writes songs, sparks revolutions. Desire isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to be refined. Let it grow up. Let it evolve. Let it move from hunger to intention. Want with clarity. Want with depth. Want with self-awareness. But for the love of all things alive, want. Don't shrink yourself into spiritual safety. Don't silence your soul in the name of being above it. There is nothing brave about pretending not to care. It's far more courageous to say, I want this. I'm scared. I might not get it, but I'm still going to show up. That's the edge Watts kept inviting us to walk. To live with desire but without dependency. To reach for things while remaining rooted. To feel fully without being swallowed whole. And if that feels like a tightrope, good. It is, because real life is not black and white. It's not desire or detachment. It's not passion or peace. It's both. At once. Always. You can want deeply and still let go. You can care fiercely and still be free. You can long for something, a person, a purpose, a dream, and still know that your wholeness doesn't hang in the balance. That's not spiritual contradiction. That's spiritual maturity. So when Watts said, the danger of wanting nothing anymore, he wasn't exaggerating. He saw what happens when people start mistaking emotional flatness for inner calm. They disappear into themselves. They go silent in places where they should be singing. They stop asking questions. Stop taking risks. Stop feeling. And slowly, their life becomes a waiting room. Waiting for nothing. Waiting for something higher to arrive. Waiting to be struck by peace like it's lightning. And they've just stood in the right field long enough. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.